Hey, good people. I'm here overlooking Boise, Idaho, where I am on my little multi-state tour now. Got the van. Ellie's over there looking insanely cute, but you'll get a shot of her later. I was thinking a lot recently that people don't fully understand the secret of why utilities, like in Arizona Public Service and Tucson Electric Power and Salt River Project, why they don't want you to have more solar on your home and batteries on your home and help you with more energy efficient appliances like air conditioners and heat pumps and all that kind of stuff. And there is a secret to it, but how do I explain this? I need a chart, but where do I get a chart if I'm traveling in the van? I know. Put it on the side of my van. With cap on, shake well for 20 seconds. Is that 20 seconds? So, before I tell you the real reason why utilities don't want to help you with solar panels and all that kind of stuff, even though it helps the system, I gotta explain this thing called the duck curve. This is what you need to think about. This line I'm gonna draw on here is load, as in all the demand kind of that's on the system at one time. That's all the houses, all the businesses, all the government buildings that are pulling power at any given time. So sunrise, right? So overnight, it's kind of flat, right? If you have a bunch of solar and wind energy, let's just say solar for Arizona, as the sun comes up, the load drops, but then what happens is when the sun starts to go down, it just pops right up. And why does it pop up? Because everyone comes home from work and they turn on the air conditioner, they turn it up, or they turn on the stove and all these totally inefficient appliances and all that kind of stuff. What utilities are going to tell you is when you have this big swing, it can cause instability in the system. They're only telling you half of the story. And this is where we need another chart. Where can I get another chart? Oh, I know. My van. I want to talk about how batteries and solar panels and energy efficiency create the trifecta of energy transition to solve our climate problems. So what we're going to look at is kind of the opposite of what we talked about before. Instead of looking at load going up and down, we're going to talk about the types of energy that are on the system. This down here, let's just call everything, as a bunch of energy comes on the system, more energy, less energy, time, suns, all that kind of stuff. Okay, this first base load could be nuclear or coal. It runs flat all the time. Maybe you have over here some natural gas plants, dirty, awful, just like coal, very polluting, terrible. We need to shut them down, but they're consistent for the most part. Okay, could you have hydro? I only have 5 colors, so bear with me. Could be hydroelectric over here, right? Okay, so, but the thing that's most important here is when you have like solar energy. So in the morning, people's panels aren't facing the sun. You get to the hottest part of the day, and then, oh, this is too early. Go this way. And at night, it just drops off, and there's nothing. Okay, let's just use this for solar because we're talking about Arizona, and that's mostly solar, right? We won't talk about wind, for instance. Well, if the total demand of the system, let's call it total demand here, more or less. It's not going to be flat, but if the total demand is here, come on, red, you have this excess energy, right, on the system up in there. When you have that excess energy, it's insanely cheap. So what the utilities are saying is, well, when this drops off, all these other sources of energy have to pick up the load, and it's very destabilizing. Okay, I get that, but that's only half of the story. What they're not telling you is, if they help allow, you have to pay for it, just allow more solar on the system and more batteries on the system, this entire line shifts this way into the night. This is battery backup power, right? In addition, if you help more people get more energy efficient products, like moving from air conditioners to heat pumps, this line of this load goes down all the way across the board, and it stays down. Meaning, if you have less demand on the system, you have less need to build more dirty gas power plants. If you have more solar, more batteries on the system, then you can account for those changes. This is very rough, it's a concept, right? This is the most important thing to understand when we start talking about the reason they don't want you to have more of this on the system. And it may not be the reason you're thinking. All the stuff I talked about here is best thought about what we call the trifecta of energy transition, meaning more solar or wind or renewable energies in people's homes, plus batteries, plus energy efficiency, meaning getting people to buy more appliances that use less energy or making their houses more energy efficient, right? Those three things shift this whole problem and make it easier and reduce the amount of need for new power plants. This segues to the next thing, which I promise I'm going to tell you why the utilities don't want to help us do more of this. Did you guess it has to do with money? You're right, but doesn't mean it has to stay that way. So here's what you need to know. Let's say most corporation commissions, they're all different names, PUCs, Public Utility Commissions. Most oversight bodies for monopoly utilities, basically say this one thing to the utility. They say, if you invest X amount of money in a new power plant, right? Let's just say $100 million in a new power plant, we're gonna guarantee that you're gonna make $10 million a year or some guaranteed return on investment on what your capital investment. Very, very rough, but this is basically the idea. What does that mean? That means they want to sell you electrons. They don't want you to generate your own electrons. That's a problem. It's been in place. It worked for 100 years, but that was before we understood all this other stuff, and we have all these new opportunities. If we're going to change this whole dynamic, we have to do a thing that's called decoupling. This is an incentive to keep building more power plants that are probably dirty or that the utility company owns, not allow you to put more solar panels on your house or energy efficient appliances and batteries, all that stuff. If you want to change this dynamic, you have to do this thing that's called decoupling, meaning you have to decouple the incentive for the power companies and all of their investors on Wall Street. Change that incentive. You need to create an incentive where the power companies make more money by allowing you to do this. What does that look like? I can't tell you, but we know it can be done because it's being done all over the different parts of the country, not everywhere. What it requires is people at the Corporation Commission that are elected by you who are willing to talk about decoupling. It's not easy to do because the utilities like to make money and there's like a resistance of bureaucracy. The people who are running for Corporation Commission this year, ask them, are you willing to change the fundamental arrangement that we have with utility companies so they actually can serve the public and fight climate change? Ta-da! Now I'm gonna go for a hike with my dog, who is just down here patiently waiting for me to finish my graphs. Okay, before I take my hike, a little thought as I'm cleaning this off. I know, well, maybe there are some of you who are like electrical engineers and system engineers and watching this. And you will probably do some nitpicking, pick some nits on this. It is generally accurate, not specifically accurate, but you know, put your comments in the chat if you want to show us all the stuff you know. That's fine. But I will put some resources in the comments for those of you to whom this is new stuff, and you'll see how accurate it is. Again, it's a general concept, right? And again, Ellie's waiting for me. Come on, kid, let's go for a hike.